Hey everybody, my name is Paul Esden Jr., aka Boy Green. Welcome to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/BoyGreen25. And Frenzy is officially here. And we're in the middle of the legal tampering period, and we're going to break down each edition for the New York Jets with some expert guest analysis and breakdown. And on Monday, the Jets signed a brand new wide receiver, that being Corey Davis, to a 3-year deal for $37.5 million, with $27 million of that guaranteed. And as soon as the deal came through, I texted my buddy Mike Herndon, of course, Titans analyst and editor for Broadway Sports. You can follow him on Twitter at Mike Miracles. And as soon as I texted him, I'm like, man, I got to get you on the channel. And this is what he texted me. He said, y'all are going to love CD. Mike, welcome to the show. Tell me why.
Corey Davis has been an interesting figure, and he's been a little bit of a hot topic among Titans fans for really all 4 years that he was here. Obviously, 5th overall pick, never quite lived up to that billing. Obviously, if you're taking a wide receiver in the top 5, you want him to be Julio Jones, right? You want him to be doing 1,400 yards a year, 14 touchdowns a year, just putting up crazy numbers. Davis never was that. And obviously, he kind of got leapfrogged by A.J. Brown when the Titans drafted him in the second round in 2019. But there is so much to like about Corey Davis. He's a guy that kind of speaks to my heart as a football fan. He does the dirty work. He is arguably, and I would put him up against really anybody in the NFL as far as a blocking wide receiver. Now, that always was met with criticism when he was here because we drafted him in the top 5. We didn't draft him to be a blocking wide receiver. Okay, that's fine. But that doesn't mean that like him being an excellent blocker, like think Hines Ward level blocker in the run game, big time contributor. Go watch any Titans highlights. AJ Brown and Derrick Henry lead the NFL in 40 plus yard touchdowns over the past couple years. Go watch any of those plays. You will find 84 downfield and throwing key blocks, putting in the extra effort to spring some of those long plays. He was absolutely crucial to some of those big explosive plays that the Titans offense really started to generate over the last couple years. Now, as a receiver, I don't know that he's necessarily like a true wide receiver one, right? Like he did take over games from time to time. He had a game against the Eagles in 2018. He absolutely destroyed Stephon Gilmore one-on-one in their matchup in 2018. I think Davis went for 125 yards and a couple touchdowns in that one. He was dominant. And Gilmore was shadowing him in that game. He was following him, and Davis just destroyed him. He showed up big a lot this year. He had, I think, 5 100-yard games this season. And when A.J. Brown was out early in the season, he missed 2 or 3 games with a knee injury. Davis really stepped up into that top role, and the Titans offense didn't miss too many beats. They were still putting up 30 points, cruising along, scoring. Some of that's, Derrick Henry, Jonnu Smith, all these other weapons that they had around these guys. But Corey Davis was the focal point of the offense during that time or of the passing game when Brown was out for that time period. So I think he can be a wide receiver one in short spurts, at least. That's what he's proven. Now, given a bigger role and bigger opportunities, one of the things that I've always said, Davis never quite had 1,000-yard season. 984 this past year, close enough, right? I mean, he probably should have had 1,000 yards. He missed a game with the COVID deal early in the season, so probably should have been a 1,000-yard receiver this past year. But you also have to look at the volume. The Titans, during his entire time here, were in the bottom 2 in the NFL in pass attempts. I think 3 of the 4 years that he played here, they did not throw the ball at a high volume. They've been a run-based offense for a while now, especially since Derrick Henry's emergence. And there's just not as many balls to go around. When you throw in A.J. Brown across from him, there's not just a ton of targets in this offense. That's kind of, I think, part of why the Titans ended up letting him walk. There's just not a ton of targets to go around. So how much are you going to pay for a guy that you can only target 90 times,
Yeah.
So will he be able to live up to the contract? I think is fine. Like I
That's what
think
I was about
12
to
and a half
ask,
million a
because right
year.
now the money for him ranks him just outside the top 20 wide receivers in all the league in terms of average per year. So what do you think of the contract? What about the money that he ended up getting?
Yeah, I think the contract's right in line with where he is in the wide receiver pecking order. Like he's not a top 10 wide receiver, probably will never be one. He's a little inconsistent. He's not the greatest separator against man coverage. He tends to be more of a combat catch kind of guy, contested catch kind of guy. He's not a terribly good vertical threat. He's going to be good. And one thing that I'd like about this fit for him specifically, though, is Mike LaFleur is your offensive coordinator, right? He's going to bring a lot of those elements, the Shanahan offense that we've looked at for the last, 2-3 years in Tennessee. You're going to see Davis taking a lot of these digs and crossers that AJ Brown has feasted off of here over the past couple years. You're going to see Davis get more of those in that offense, and he's going to be really good at that. He's great after the catch. He's a load to bring down. I mean, he's 6'3", 210. He plays hard. He plays physical. He's if you go back and watch the Broncos game last year, Titans Broncos, he absolutely buried Kareem Jackson in the bench with a stiff arm. He's a big physical dude after the catch, and he's going to be really good in that role specifically, I think, for the Jets. So I think that's a plus for him. And yeah, he's about a top 20, top 25 wide receiver, in my opinion. That's about the right place for him money-wise. So I have no problem with the contract.
Was there any regret on the Titans' part? Because obviously, as the Jets know, because they're about to be making their decision on a fifth-year option for Sam Darnold, was there any regret? Because of course, Corey Davis is coming off a career year. They had to make their decision well before that point on the fifth-year option. Was there any regret seeing what happened? You're like, son of a gun! It finally blossomed there in year number 5 of that fifth-year option. Any regret there?
I don't think so, just simply because, ultimately the fifth year option for him would have been close to $16 million for the 2021 season. So obviously he signed for less than that per year. So theoretically, if the Titans had wanted to pay him, they could have got him for less than that fifth year option anyway. So I don't think he would have been a value at that number for the Titans. And, given what other needs they've got on the roster, redistributing that money to other positions, like, obviously they signed Bud Dupree, Danico Autry yesterday, trying to get that pass rush that finished, I think dead last in the NFL last year, rejuvenated. They needed to spread that money around to other needy positions. And yeah, I don't think it's a regret thing for the Titans as far as that fifth year option goes.
Were you surprised? So a report came out, Diana Rossini of ESPN, she's fantastic. So legal tampering period starts on Monday at noon, and it runs through right before free agency officially kicks off on Wednesday at 4 o'clock. And Diana Rossini came out with a report both for Jonnu Smith, thanks for that in the AFC East, appreciate that, and then also on Corey Davis that basically both players are well aware that they're not coming back to Tennessee. Was that a surprise that Tennessee decided that obviously to intimate to both those players, we're good. It's not going to happen. And what was the reason for that?
So my understanding from talking to some people that kind of know over here, they tried with both those guys to come to an agreement before tampering period opened. So I think there was an effort. I know that Rossini tweet, I think, obviously we all know that the tampering happens before the legal tampering. The illegal tampering window never closes. So that I think was what was going on there. I think those guys knew that their market was going to be bigger than what the Titans were willing to offer. On Jonnu, I think what the Patriots paid for Jonnu Smith is kind of crazy. I really like Jonnu Smith. I think he's a really talented guy, physically one of the more impressive players you're going to see at the tight end position. But for what he is, $12.5 million a year with 30 something million guaranteed, they're paying him a better contract than what the Titans gave Derrick Henry last year. And if you ask me who had a bigger impact in the Titans offense, Derrick Henry by miles over Jonnu Smith. So I can understand the Titans passing at that valuation for sure. Davis, I have a little bit harder time with. I think Davis is worth the contract that he signed with you guys, which obviously we already talked about, but I would have liked to see Davis back here. I think it's going to be a tough ask for the Titans to replace two of their top three pass catchers this offseason. It'll be interesting to see where they go. But yeah, it was definitely a surprise that they just passed on bringing back either one of them. Those were the two guys that I thought they'd push hardest to sign.
Again, we're speaking with Mike Herndon, Titans analyst and editor for Broadway Sports. You can follow him on Twitter at Mike Miracles. And speaking of miracles, for God's sakes, the Jets have been hoping for a wide receiver one for like a billion years. We've only had a stopgap here. Brandon Marshall in 2015. Ooh, that's nice. Keyshawn Johnson back in the late 90s. Oh, hello. That's pretty cool. But since then, there have been a lot of nothing in between. And you've already hinted at it earlier. But is Corey Davis a wide receiver one in an offense that perhaps with LaFleur and the Shanahan principles, could he become one if he's never been one before with more opportunities? What do you think?
Yeah, I think part of the reason for his breakout last year was health. He played 2019 most of the season with a turf toe issue that he finally got operated on last offseason. So, and he dealt with a lot of nagging injuries his first couple years with Tennessee. He came into he didn't participate in the combine. We don't have any like really good testing data on him because he had an ankle injury his last year at Western Michigan that kind of trailed him into his first training camp with the Titans. Then he had a hamstring issue as a rookie that kind of delayed him getting into the fold a little bit. 2018 was his previously mostly healthiest year, I guess to say. And he put up 891 yards in an offense that was quarterbacked by Marcus Mariota, who was dealing with nerve damage in his throwing arm that season. So I think when he's been healthy, you can see he's around that 1,000-yard receiver level. Now, I think he's going to get more targets from the Jets than he ever did in Tennessee. And I think that probably leads him to be, somewhere like an 1,100, 1,200-yard receiver. He's never been, despite his size, he's never been a huge red zone guy for the Titans for whatever reason. That's always been a little bit of a mystery to me. His career high in touchdowns is 5, which happened last year. And the Titans definitely went A.J. Brown, Jonnu Smith, kind of 1-2 in the red zone before getting kind of down to Davis. But I'm not sure if he's ever going to be a big touchdown guy, but I think he'll produce big yardage in that offense, especially if they give him some of those digs and crossers that come off of that play action that the Titans have used significantly in the last few years.
All right, Mike, I sent a person in NFL league circles. I said, hey, give me the deets on Corey Davis. So I want you to play Maury here and pull out the lie detector and tell me about this text I got. And I asked him, Corey Davis, come on, give it to me. What are the first things that pop to your head? They said, contested catches, never drops anything, intriguing ceiling. Are any lies detected in that statement there?
No lies detected. That's right on. He is a physical contested catch guy. And the other thing that I think Jets fans will love about Davis, you won't find a receiver with a better attitude. Like you draft a guy top 5, again, we talked about it. You could see a guy coming in with a little bit of a diva attitude. I mean, he never got over 112 targets during his 4 years as a Titan, and obviously took a backseat to A.J. Brown these past couple years. He never complained once. He never, had an attitude once. There was never an issue with him. He came to work and worked hard every day, improving his craft. He fought for his teammates. He and A.J. Brown, I think, got along great, despite the fact that, frankly, a number 5 overall pick that was billed as the guy, and then having a second round pick come in and kind of just steal his thunder right in the middle of his rookie contract is a tough situation for a lot of guys, especially a position that is, kind of known for divas. Davis is not that at all. He's stand-up guy, hard worker. That's why I think you guys are going to come to love him, because whether he ends up being, becoming like the full possibility that he was billed as coming out in the draft, whether he ever reaches that ceiling or not, he's not going to bust for you guys. Like, there's just no bust potential here to me. I think he's going to produce. He's going to be a good teammate, a good locker room guy, and he's going to help you win football games. So I don't think it's a risky contract. I think you're going to enjoy the Corey Davis era in with the Jets.
And that's what someone told me at the radio station this morning. When I brought up Corey Davis, they said high floor guy. That's the thing that you basically the same thing you just said. There's no bust potential here. But again, will he ever be Randy Moss or some crazy number one wide receiver? Perhaps not. But again, the thing you know is he's going to be a solid guy in there that's going to punch in, punch out, pale kind of guy. And before we get you out of here, one more thing. Can you tell us a Corey Davis story? All the New York Jets fans listening in want to know and learn as much about this guy as possible. And I think so far it's been super informative. But is there a story, whether entertaining, whether some sort of, something off the field, on the field? Can you tell the Jet fans and viewers who are watching and listening in right now a Corey Davis story?
Goodness. He's really a very quiet guy as far as he's not very outspoken. Like in interviews, he's not going to say anything interesting, right? Like he's very, toes the company line. He's soft spoken. But I will say that, on the field, this dude is an absolute animal. And if you want to see some fun stuff, the Titans do a lot of this kind of crack toss stuff in the run game, and they almost always use Davis to do it. They bring him into a tight split, and then they'd have him crack down on the defensive end while Taylor Lewan typically would kind of pull around and lead for Derrick Henry. Corey Davis has blocked guys like Joey Bosa, guys like Melvin Ingram off of the edge and come down and it's not just, hey, I'm getting in the way. He comes in and sticks his nose in there and throws his face mask in and blocks with his heart behind it. I guess like off the field, I don't know that he's a terribly interesting guy. He just had a kid. He's a family guy, very like down home, like rooted type of individual. He lost his brother last year, in an unfortunate incident that I know he was playing with a very heavy heart for chunks of last season, dealing with that. But yeah, great human being, really hard-nosed player. And yeah, you're going to enjoy whoever is playing, running back for the Jets is going to thank Corey Davis frequently for the blocks that he's going to throw and open up some of these explosive runs for you guys.
I love that. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. A boring life off the field, fine. Not going to be a diva. Not going to, throw any tantrums. Where's the ball, man? What's happening? Not a bad thing. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take it. I won't be complaining about that, despite the lack of headlines, I guess, I'm going to get from Corey Davis's locker. But, Mike, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find your work? Because, normally we'd say, why the hell would the Jets have any interest in anything the Titans have to say? Well, Jonnu Smith is now settling in the division. Maybe Jet fans could dive back in on some prior articles and also articles talking about the departure and how big of an impact he had in Tennessee and what impact he could have in New England. Plus, of course, all the old Corey Davis films. So there's a lot to dig in here. Where can they all find it?
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff. So BroadwaySportsMedia.com is the website. You can go in. We've got a little search bar. You can type in Jonnu Smith. You can type in Corey Davis. So you can find all the stuff that we've written about those guys, which has been quite a bit these last few months, and as well as some film breakdown and stuff like that going back into last season. So yeah, please go check it out. It's a lot of good stuff on there. It's not just me. There's a lot of other writers. We've got former football coaches that write for the site and are able to break things down from different angles. So it's a lot of good information. But yeah, please go check it out. BroadwaySportsMedia.com and at BroadwayTN on Twitter if you guys want to follow there.
And Mike, again, always when you're at the ready, you are the reliable guy. I'm like, hey man, the Titans news, Jets news is happening. Mike, where are you, man? You're like, boom, let's go. Flexibility. You're ready to move and groove. I love
That's
it.
Right.
We can get half of that versatility from Corey Davis. The Jets are going to be in a good spot. Mike, you're the man. Thanks, brother.
I appreciate it.